Happy Thursday, everybody. Honored to be here with the DCA team, except instead of Ben Cohen from Into the Cryptoverse, we have a new star guest, another CTO Larsson. So honored to have you here. And I know Rob and CTO, you guys know each other well. You've been on each other's shows and stuff. And so happy to have the team together. And I know the audience is happy too. We should have hopefully some good Svenska representation in the house.
Thank you. Greetings from Sweden. It's 7 p.m. here, but it's still light outside, and spring is coming.
As you know, I've been to Scandinavia many times, and in the summertime it's crazy; it just never gets dark. So it's getting to that season. So we have a lot to talk about, guys. Everybody, if you're new to any of these channels, Rob's link is below. That's the cool guy in the whatever orangey ready shirt, and of course CTO Larsson. His link for his channel is below. CTO Larsson also, I just learned, is absolutely an amazing rapper. It blew me away, and I think we both have. Rob, you and I have to up our games.
I always said that the only thing I can't do that is to sing, but sometimes you have to push yourself out of the comfort zone. And I mean, talking crypto or something like that, that isn't outside my comfort zone. I need to do something else, and then try something that I absolutely can't do, and to challenge and show that it's okay to try things that you actually can't do. And,
good.
Excellent. It might still come out all right.
Well, I'm just looking at the chat here, and a couple of people saying, "Who's the new guy?" So can you take 60 seconds and tell people about your background and how you fell into crypto?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm an old guy that I've had a lot of CTO roles in other industries. I've been part of the internet revolution. I played a key role in the telecom revolution. So if you're using a mobile phone, I've played a key part in creating the mobile data protocol that we use every day. Then I felt that, okay, I've done 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. Should I spend the rest of my life doing 6G, little faster? And I felt, no, it's time for the next major technology revolution. After the internet, after telecom, and after some consideration, I realized that it is blockchain, crypto, Bitcoin, this whole industry. That is the next internet and the next tech revolution that will change our society. And I have some learnings, experience from the previous two industries. I've added a skill that I didn't have before about technical analysis, and tried to take that very seriously over the past 5 or so, 6 years. And I tried to bring both the technology perspective and the technical analysis perspective. I don't have a finance background. I'm an engineer, and in the telecom industry, I went from programming up to being big boss. But I always introduced every meeting with saying that I'm the engineer. So I want to try to keep that.
And if people missed it, CTO Larsson and I have done multiple videos together, but we did 2 very important ones over the last 2 or 3 weeks. One was kind of my approach to crypto is very similar to an approach to a software company, and the dotted line to telco, of which CTO Larsson has a lot of experience. And then on his channel, we did a video on the top 25 cryptos, excluding stablecoins, which is the top 21. And if you want to learn, what you see there, it's kind of amazing when you analyze the top 25 cryptos, when you realize 60% of them aren't worth investing in per hour estimations. So that shows you how difficult this space is. But let's not waste any more time. We're going to go through 6 topics really fast, and then we'll leave it open to some questions for the audience, because this whole channel is about answers, giving you guys answers, helping guide you. And I've got 2 brilliant experts here to throw questions at, and any super chats, etc. All the money in this channel goes to charity. So first question. And everybody is concerned about this. A lot of people are getting nervous. You've got your perma bears out there calling for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 Bitcoin. You've got all kind of the pumpers getting all excited saying, yeah, bull market's back. And where do you guys believe here? Is the bull market back? S&P 500 is nearly back to all-time highs. Bitcoin and Ethereum and some alts have had 40% plus rebounds in a couple of weeks, especially since, at the real bottom was Feb 23rd for the crypto market. because that was the time of the invasion that we won't talk about. But what do you guys think? I'll go to Rob. I'll go to you first, and then we'll flip it over.
Let the CTO do it. He's the guest. He's the guest for today.
Okay.
Oh, you guys are way too kind. Yeah, so of course, everyone is thinking about this. I'm thinking about this also. I actually posted a video yesterday and where I went through 6 points where I felt that there are 6 strong arguments that the bull market is back for Bitcoin and Ethereum and altcoins, and one problem. And if taking them in like 60 seconds, the 6 strong points is do Kwon. You guys talked about it on the previous DCA. You've both covered it a lot. I mean, you buy those kind of volumes, price is going to go up. It's that simple. Michael Saylor is back. He has secured another $200 million loan to buy Bitcoin. The third one is the technical construction of the chart. There was an ascending triangle that broke out, and no chart analyst in the whole world is going to miss that. So that is kind of an entry point for new people. The fourth one is that the trend is about to turn up. Of course, different people use different measures of trend, but I think regardless of the exact construction, the trend has been down, and now it's about to turn up again. And that's another reason to enter into the market. Then we have these more obscure events like hack bailouts. If they need to bail out the hack, they need to buy back the Ethereum. If that Ethereum is stuck in the wallet and the thief can't do anything with it, how do you get it back? You have to go and buy new ones. That's the only thing that's left. We have the Ethereum merge that could bring new investors into the market, and this time perhaps it will actually happen. There could be FOMO leading up to that. So there are all these 6 strong points kind of speaking to that the bull market is back, and it could be that simple. It could be that this is it, the bull market is back, and that's the whole story. I just have one little concern that is kind of nagging me. Thank you. Exactly. And it is nagging me. It kind of seems a little bit too easy. The price has been going up every day for like I don't know how long except today. And you don't generally want to buy when price has gone up that many days in a row without any pullback or anything like that. And I will not be the only one who thinks that. So I'm still a little bit summaries that I've painted 2 scenarios. One scenario is that this bull market is back. This is it. The other scenario, and I will try to cover both, is that there will be like a manipulation dip first to try for big investors to get in lower, maybe crash the price down to this range support at maybe 30,000, scare everyone, bring it under 30K, get the last optimist to give up and say it's over, and then run it up towards 100K. I think that would make sense. If you could play this market, that would be a smart thing to do. Then you would get more Bitcoin cheaper if you wanted to. If you could manipulate the market and you could play this, that would be a smart thing to do. So I will try to monitor both those scenarios and try to have some money on the side if the dip happens first. But I definitely think that overall bull market is back. It's just the question is if we will have one more dip to scare out people first and enable people to
and I think when I look at the on-chain stuff, there's simply too many big money transactions buying in. And my thesis from day one since 2017 was this is a supply and demand game, and we're seeing money flows like we've never seen before. It's all institutional. It's not retail. So Rob, what do you see? How do you feel? Do you feel confident? Do you feel really bullish, or do you have a little bit of bear going on inside of you?
There's always a little bit of bear inside of all of us, right? I think that's safe to say. And also, if there's construction going on right now, so I have to mute myself. If it keeps going on, I'm gonna have to drop. So sorry about that. But I will just say that I'll make this very quickly. And that is that I agree with what CTO Larsson is talking about. I mean, you can take a look at the technicals and people say, well, it looks like it's pretty good. And of course, Do Kwon, he's already said he's going to, put in billions and billions of dollars into Bitcoin. And then we've got the big institutions coming in. Yes, Even there's a lot of different, especially Bitcoin, Ethereum being pulled off the exchanges. So it does make a lot of sense. What was concerning is exactly what CT said, which was, look, there is if you're talking about like accumulation and then manipulation, there could be another different dip that comes back down to 30,000, which I think a lot of people were like, no, that can't really happen. But it goes to show you that this market is very volatile. So when it goes up, there is a clear indicator of that. I know people like to say this, but take some profits, because no one ever went broke taking profits. So as it goes up, maybe it's a good time, because if it crashes, if it goes down tomorrow, down to 29,000, would you be okay with that? I think it's just a safe place to go, you know what, I should try to take some profits. And then lastly, I would say a bull market, a prolonged bull market, maybe. I think it is bullish sentiment. And I'll just go there.
Excellent. And what people, I go back again to my thesis is I look at money and money flows and supply and demand. Bitcoin is tiny for the type of monies that are coming in. Hundreds of billions of dollars have a huge impact on price. It's typically a multiplier between 21 and 25. But as we go up the food chain into what I call thinner air, less supply, that money that flows in will have a much bigger impact. And we're going to have a squeeze and a supply shock, and price is going to go crazy. So I've never been more bullish, more full of hope. Yeah. So let's talk about the next.
It's reinforcing also, right? It's reinforcing. If the confidence comes back and people feel that it's going to continue going up, then who wants to sell then? Then a lot fewer people will want to sell, and then price goes up more as a result of the buy pressure.
And the world is full of crap assets. You take the bond market, 130 trillion, looking for a home. You've got the Bank of Japan, the Japanese yen loses 9% in one day. Who wants to hold fiat? I mean, it's just the backdrop for this is just out of this world. Well, let's flick to the next question. Next question. Just go straight to the meat. We have a new guest, and I'm going to ask you both. I'm going to go with you, Rob, first. What are your top 3 cryptos today? If somebody said, hey, Rob, here's $100,000, $10,000, whatever, what would you buy?
Well, before I say that, I'll tell you this. Everybody's different, and everybody's goals are different, right? Some people, I just have to tell you one, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. So I know there's some other degenerates out there that are like, you know what, give me $10,000 and I'll put it on the 1,000th crypto out there because there's a big massive upswing. That could be true. But for me, if you're giving me 10 grand, I got to go for the safe play. I'm going to say right now, I'll tell you what I'm dollar cost averaging today. It's Bitcoin, it's Ethereum, it's Luna, and it's Solana. And also, I also picked up Cosmos, because I think, and we're going to talk about this multi-chain, I think it's a pretty safe play. And that's just me. Now, if you're more of a degenerate, maybe go down that list and you could have really, lucked out, or if you've done your job, picked up Zilliqa and Thorchain and things like that. But that's just me. That's where I'm going. And
for the audience, Rob, do you just give even distributions, like 20% each, or do you have heavier loads on things like Bitcoin, Solana?
It's more Bitcoin, Ethereum right now, because I feel like, especially when we get into the multi-chain versus cross-chain argument and everything that's like the TVL that's locked up. I know people don't want to hear it, unfortunately, but if you take a look at where things are right now, I think there's a bigger upside coming down the road. If I miss it and I screw up and there's some kind of layer 0 that overtakes Ethereum, that's okay. I think I'll still be in the money for a long time. So it's weighted more towards Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Cosmos and Luna. Going down that way.
Okay, CTO, where are you?
Yeah, and I for the audience, I guarantee you we have not coordinated this before. But so for me, it's very clear, and this is what I have been doing myself. So Bitcoin, for the reasons I just stated, I have not gone all in. I've not gone 100% allocation, because if the second scenario happens, I don't want to stand there and have nothing to invest. That would be then I would feel really bad. So I have not gone 100 in, but I have added to my Bitcoin allocation for the reasons mentioned. I also added to my Ethereum allocation. The ETH to BTC chart looks pretty good. It's kind of an upward sloping channel. I think this one looks good as well. And there could be a FOMO leading up to the merge. I think that is possible. Then the next one that I know that you have been talking a lot about on this channel is Solana. And I have refrained a little bit from adding to Solana before, because since, let's see here, in early January, there's been some not so good developments in the chart. Support levels broke, and then they turned into resistance. Then the next support level broke, that turned into resistance. Next support level broke, that turned into resistance, and so on. And that has been going on then for a good 3+ months. And that changed. That has changed. It changed on the 20. Let's see here now. It changed on the 24th March, where the reverse started happening. Resistance broke through on the upside. It turned into support. Then the next resistance broke through at 0024 approximately, and that turned into support and so on. So there has been a complete shift, 180 degrees of the Solana chart, and that to me is very positive. So.
And on Solana as well, just so the audience knows, it's gone up 65% in 35 days. And that's a big move.
Oh, yeah. That is huge. That is huge. So there has been a change of momentum, change of market structure in Solana. And the last one is Luna. So we violently agreed here. We had a very positive development in Luna here, or two positive developments, and the first one is on the BTC chart. Sorry, just bring it up here, where we had another touchdown on 0.002. That was where I entered on the BTC chart. I felt that was a very strong support that held one more time. I entered there, and then it followed also through with a breakout on the Luna to USD chart, breaking through the $100 psychological level. And right now, actually, it's holding just above that. So with any entry, you have to try. You have to try to get in. Then if Murphy's Law happens and all bad things happen at the same time and it crashes down, then usually I exit. I try to get in it again. I don't hold on the way down. But here is a logical entry on both the BTC chart and the USD chart. I try to enter here and see if this support holds. And then I agree with you. I think that there's an enormous upside here on Luna. If they continue with this very brave moves that they have done, lot of innovation and world firsts, and they're building an enormous momentum. And if they can continue with this can really go places, I think.
Excellent stuff. Appreciate that.
So
insight.
That was 4. I'm sorry, it was not supposed to be 3, but I have to say all 4.
I think, I've always been a big fan of Solana for simple reasons. One, it's if there was an Ethereum 3, it's already better, cheaper, faster than what that would ever be. It's less than 1/10 of the market cap of Ethereum. There's nothing but upside. And the market just doesn't know how to value these things yet, which we've discussed before. No. But they will, and they're slowly catching up. But if you look I also follow the big institutional money, and that's still the most net positive institutional inflow to any asset, with the exception of Bitcoin, is Solana so far this year. So I like Bitcoin, but it's too high for my blood. I like it under 42K. Any dip down there, there'll be tons of buyers. I don't see us going below 40 to 42K right now. I think the 42K will become a strong support, despite the manipulation that's happening right now as we speak. Whales are dumping to buy back, to wick out, margin traders. And of course, Avalanche is interesting because their EVM compatibility, and Luna is a beast. That's one thing that is a highly, highly speculative asset, but I became a super bull on it about 2 weeks ago when we did our theoretical model of how Luna could hit 80,000. So let's jump forward to topic number 3. And people now are worried about the top 1%. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, with Kwon buying up all the Bitcoin and Michael Saylor coming in again, and the hedge funds and the institutional buys are all $1 million average plus trades. I think there was a record number of $100,000 plus trades in a given 4-hour window in the history of Bitcoin was just yesterday or today. The retail investor is getting shut out, and people are concerned, it's going to be just like the traditional world where the top 1% own everything. So my point is, do you think this is a valid concern that just top 1% will buy all the Bitcoin? Or do you believe, and I've been pushing as well since I started this channel, the importance of being a whole coiner, just owning one Bitcoin will put you in very special, rarefied air in the future. Do you believe retail investors still have a shot? I'll go to you, CTO Larsson, first. Do you believe the 1% will buy up all the Bitcoin?
This is so interesting, and I've thought a lot about this. And there is one big thing that is happening in the world, and it has been slowly growing in the same direction. And that is that if we go back in history, we go back 100 years, 200 years, everyone could create value. Everyone could, work on the farm or grow their potatoes as we did in Sweden or whatever. We're more and more moving towards a world where fewer people can create a lot of value by writing some piece of software. You write, the first automated market maker, or you write the Bitcoin software, or you do something. We're moving to a world with infinite leverage, where one person with very little resources can create almost unlimited wealth. And sadly, I must say, a large portion of the population will come with automation and all those things. A large portion of the population will not be able to add much value at all, unfortunately. And it is moving in that direction. It doesn't happen overnight, but that is the trend. And I don't think that is going to change as we move more into technology, more into software, unfortunately. And then it will be probably like this, like the amount of people who understand Bitcoin, the amount of people who are here on the channel trying to learn, trying to understand. It's like such a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the population. Most people think that they've heard about Bitcoin and it's some kind of scam. And they will understand later, maybe in 10 years, 15 years, something like that. But then it's too late. So I think, unfortunately, I think that every new technology shift, like crypto, like Bitcoin, it could probably lead to an increased concentration. But I don't think it will be increased concentration within the crypto, because there could come new projects. And I don't think also it will be increased concentration within the financial sphere. I mean, just look at the big professional investors. They missed Tesla, that I know you talked a lot about on this channel. They missed crypto. They missed Bitcoin. They missed all the technology. They don't understand it. The bankers don't understand it. So it is a new people who are making money in crypto. That's not the old investment bankers. It's new people. But how should I say, our group who are here studying for like a whole hour today, spending 1 hour trying to understand this ecosystem, it's like a 0.01% of the population, something like that. Most people would never spend the time. They at most would, if they find someone to tell them, on Instagram that you should buy this, okay, they go and buy it. That's the level of effort people put in. So I think that among this group, it's not that Michael Saylor will take all the money. No, I don't think so. But looking at the population as a whole, yes, there will be increased concentration of wealth in the world. I think so.
Excellent. And remember, every time Kwon or Michael Saylor steps in and they buy 3,000 Bitcoins or whatever, they deny 3,000 retail investors from ever being a whole coiner. So always think about that, guys. Rob, what say you, sir?
Yeah, so I agree in part with what CTU was talking about, because first of all, you have to understand that all the different sales that are going on as far as Bitcoin and falling into the hands of the 1% of the 1%, that's going to happen. So really, you right now watching this video, the question you have to ask yourself is not, is it going to happen? Because it is. It will. There's going to be a concentration of Bitcoin in some very lucrative hands. Because guess what? Even though we're retail investors, we don't have a bunch of money, not a ton like the other ones out there. And then just like what CTO was saying, that yes, there's going to be a lot of people going to be snatching up, but not everybody. Like the Warren Buffetts aren't going to be there. They're not going to have it. But it doesn't matter, because the Michael Saylors of the world are going to figure it out, and they're going to start to buy in pretty big. So the question then is, what are you going to do? What does it mean to you? What do you have to do? The only thing you have to do is realize the things that you can change, and realize the things that you can't change, and figure out the difference. So the only thing that you can really do is not fall prey to being the victim of saying, okay, there was a big crash, like we just talked about, could potentially happen. I need to sell my Bitcoin, then lose it all. And then as these other whales buy it up, then you're like, where'd my Bitcoin go? So the only thing you have to worry about is not that it's going to be in concentration, because guess what? It's going to happen. The thing you have to worry about is, what do I do with the money that I make to actually gain some financial freedom? That's the big thing.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I think it's for me at least, it's a helpful model to really picture this. When I'm going in and I sell, and think, who is it in the other end? Because I'm not selling alone. There is someone buying on the other side. Who is that person buying, and why are they buying today if I'm selling today, and who is that? And then also you realize that since money is unfairly distributed, the probability that the person buying if I'm selling has a lot more money than me, that is extremely high. So if they are buying, why the F am I selling here? So it could really be like, that's a helpful model to kind of reality check your emotion before taking the action. Pause for a moment, even wait until tomorrow and think it through. And then take the action. Yeah.
That's a key part of the psychology that investors sometimes miss. They think they're just there alone or trading against a machine, but always think who is on the other side. That is probably the biggest takeaway lesson from today, everybody out there. So that's good news. I do believe the big money is coming. I've been talking about it. I said last year, the Q1 2022, because I was hearing from sources that people were organizing themselves to deploy money, and that's already happening. But you see it on chain, you don't hear about it, because these guys that are buying, they're not signaling that they are buying. They're keeping it very quiet. Kwon is different. Saylor are different, but the rest, no, they're not. So next question, and this goes to kind of the Wild West of crypto. So there are exponential gains to be had, but you can lose your shirt in a second. So the RONIN stuff that happened, 650 million. I loved your point of they've got to now go buy Ethereum, which would be upward buying pressure. But bridges secure. We saw the wormhole stuff happen. Now the RONIN attack happened with Axie. How do you view bridges? I'll give this to you first, Rob. Are you concerned about bridges and interchain technologies, blockchain, etc.? Is there a better way to do it? Are you more optimistic or pessimistic about cross-chain? How do you see this world panning out?
Well, I'm more interested in what CT has to say, because he's a technical person out of all of us. I'd like to hear what he has. But I will just say that these bridges, people on my channel, they always ask me, Rob, why aren't you bigger into DeFi? Why aren't you going into these plays and that plays? I'm like, because it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. Look what happened to Wormhole, and look what just happened with the other big hack. So to me, those bridges, I'm interested to hear what CT says, but I got to be honest with you, bridging and those types of apparatus to move across chain, I see it as a humongous risk right now, and we've seen it time and time again. So I like the multi-chain, that's why I'm into Cosmos. What's on Cosmos? We got Thorchain, you got Luna, you've got a couple other ones that are pretty big. So, and then Ethereum, look what's sprouted off of that. So I can see that situation, but as far as like the bridges, I'll leave out the CT, because I don't see we're in the early infancy stages, but what can we do to fix this? Because it has to be fixed at some point. But right now, I'll stick with just multi-chains.
Awesome. Let me switch back to, there we are. CTO, what do you reckon? I know you know a lot about the RONIN stuff.
Yeah, this is a super interesting topic. And I made a video after the wormhole hack 2 months ago. So now people are somehow crediting me with this insight. And it's not my insight. I had not thought about it. It is Vitalik's insight. I just perhaps understood the article and explained it in a different way. But there is a huge insight here. And that is that these bridges are not good. It's no coincidence that it happened 2 of these huge hacks, and there probably is going to be more of them, because there is a logical error. Each time there will be a bug, but there will always be bugs. And the problem is that if there is a weak chain on one side, like in the RONIN case, they had just 9 validators and 4 were practically the same. And from that, one of those 4, you had a link to the 5th one. So you just needed to hack in one place, and then you could do kind of an attack on the chain. So this was a very weak chain. But if it had only been that chain, if that chain only existed in its existence, after discovering this, the consensus of the blockchain could have sorted this out. That what happened was, it could be against the rules of the blockchain, or they could have sorted it out. But because there is another chain involved, so this weak chain signals to the strong chain that this is fine, this is fine. Then the guy runs off with Ethereum, which is very difficult to hack. But now he sits with Ethereum. And then when you discover the problem on the weak chain, you fix it here, you can't take back the money from the strong chain. And when there's this much money involved, the incentive to hack one of these is too big. You don't maybe even have to hack it. Maybe you can just attack it. You can buy enough validators, to attack it. You just need to attack it long enough for the bridge to think that something has happened on the chain. And then you pull out on the other side, and then you can release your hack or your attack. And then the chain will resolve itself to some reasonable state, but it's too late. The guy is off with the money. And this you can't do if you're only one chain. Yep. You can't do it if you're only one chain. So I think that, just like Rob said, I think that the idea with this multi-chain bridges, it's not going to fly. We need to be contained in one blockchain and do different operations within there. Then you cannot attack it unless there is an actual bug in the smart contract or something like that. So
exactly,
I'm just like, I know both of you, I'm pessimistic about these cross-chain applications, but I think that it will work very well to build out each blockchain individually.
Excellent. Good point. And yeah, I've got nothing to add because you both nailed it. But what people don't understand, though, about centralization and decentralization, and our key metric, again, is the number of validators. Absolutely critical. If you have 6 validators or 5 or 4 or 9 or 300, it makes it much more vulnerable. And we discussed that. Check out the video. I'll drop a link up here, and you guys can check it out where we talk about the importance of validators as well with CTO Larsson. Okay, next question. Topic number 5, regulations. So our politicians sometimes clearly display their high levels of ignorance about this space, just like you said at the beginning, CT as well. People don't take the hour or the 1,000 hours to understand what's going on here. Now, the EU has been really, really embarrassing lately. And I think they're trying to protect their financial fiefdoms, regulators, etc. They're paid by banks. Banks are very nervous because they know DeFi is coming. It's going to completely destroy their ability to line their own pockets. US had a big change last week where one top regulator, Janet Yellen, actually, I think she began to listen to her constituents, even though she probably doesn't even have any. I'm not sure exactly. But there is a slow change. But what's happening right now, considering this is mostly the European mess, and we have a lot of European in the audience here, what do you think, CT, about the situation of regulations? Then we'll flip over to Rob, who is an expert on US regulations too.
Yeah, I'm very angry, upset, and sad today afternoon, actually. And, to the whole world, on behalf of my region, the EU, I apologize for how dumb this is. This is so dumb, and it could, ripple into the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And it's like you say, it's 2 parts. One is lobbying, the other part is just ignorance. So what has happened today is that they voted through a proposal. It has not become law yet. There is more parts of the process. There's still chance to kind of debate this out, but there was a key step today where they voted yes to this proposal to crack down on non-custodial wallets. And what is so dumb here is that they don't understand that what crypto is the wallet. If you can only use custodial wallets in practice because they load the non-custodial wallet, meaning the wallet with so much compliance regulation that it becomes unfeasible. Then if it's only the custodial wallet left, that is the bank. That's what we had before crypto. And it's not the crypto wallet. If you have money on your exchange on the bank, you don't have a wallet. It's a database. The exchange has one big wallet, like Binance has some different big wallets. And then to keep track of who has that money, it's just a database. It's the same as a database on the bank. And that's what we had before this enormous innovation that you can actually do away. You don't need the intermediary anymore. That was the big innovation of Bitcoin. You don't need the intermediary. Now we want to regulate to force you to use the intermediary. It's like to regulate, to force you to have to use the horse and cart. You can't use the car. or you can't use electricity. You are regulate that you have to use the candle or the kerosene oil lamp. You can't use this electricity. It is uninformed, and I think in many cases not done with bad intention. They just haven't understood the consequence. The consequence is that what is crypto or what is the blockchain becomes banned, basically, because you load it with regulation, or you have to attach personal data to every blockchain transaction, which makes it impossible to use, because then it becomes like a crime honeypot. You can go there and you get a sorted list of who has the most Bitcoin with home address and everything. Then you go and knock on their door. It will become a whole new field of crime. Criminals from the whole world will travel to Europe to enjoy this amazing new opportunity for crime that has been created by the EU. All these things they haven't thought about. I can guarantee it. No one has explained it to the point where they thought about it.
Why can't we send you to Utrecht to say this? Or wherever.
I'm happy to go there and talk to anyone that is willing to listen.
Yeah, excellent. Rob, I know you're deep in regulations. You monitor all the stuff, the good stuff happening in good places like Texas, bad places like New Jersey, New York, and monitor what's going on around the world. What do you see happening here? And could what is happening in Europe be kind of a direction for the US down the line?
See, one thing I don't understand is why these different locations are trying to figure out regulation before they actually figure out exactly what crypto and digital assets are. Because I think that the big thing is we have to have clarity about what it actually is. I know they hear these horror stories about illicit activity, but I mean, that's what the US dollar is for. Sorry. So when all these regulations come through, why can't they just come out and say, okay, we need to figure out what is a currency as far as in digital assets, what is a commodity, and what is a security? I think if they can start there, that's the way to start. Because in India, they did the exact opposite. They say, what we're going to do, we're not going to say what it is. We're not even say it's legal, but we're going to tax you 30%. Then we're going to go from there. So when I take a look at all these regulations, I'm like, why can't they just do that? And then we could actually move on and actually build things. And then the big institutional money that James has said is actually going to be here can actually get here because they have clarity about what it's supposed to be. I think that is the big thing. So even all the stuff that happened, with Voyager and BlockFi and Jersey and them coming in and saying, hey, cease and desist. And you had a regulation come out in Texas where they're going to start say, hey, if you're a miner, there has to be stipulations on how much energy you can actually use. And then, of course, what CT was talking about as far as the EU and transactions. Why are we dealing with that right now? Let's deal with a little clarity. And that's when I talk about regulation, that's the thing that I'm talking about. We just need clarity so we can figure out what it is, and then we can put it into practice, move our way around it, and then move on from there.
Excellent. Well said.
Well, that's such a key point. Just to add to that, because that is so important what you're saying there, Rob, that I feel so too. I feel it's premature. These politicians are not sitting there trying to do bad things. No, they're not. They mean well, I think. But it's premature. We're kind of rushing through something that will lead to, like, if we're going to ban the next internet, we better, have thought it through first. And clear. I don't think anyone sitting there saying that they fully understand what is going on. I don't think so. It's premature. It's rushing a too important decision. I think that also many people don't understand that it is important. They think that this is some fringe thing. They haven't understood that, Ethereum is worth 6 times Ericsson, or, Bitcoin is, that big. I think they haven't thought about it. They don't understand that this blockchain technology can change the world like internet or telecom did. I think they haven't thought about it. They feel that it's some weird internet money that criminals use, and we better, crack down on it before the Russians use it. That's the whole thought process, I think. And they haven't, they've rushed through it without fully understanding what it is. And I think the real action is what you said, Rob, to kind of slow down, understand what needs to be decided now, and then take the time to understand it, and then later take the real decision. I think that should be the right approach. And thanks for summarizing it.
I was joking. We have I think the third most powerful politician in the US is 83 years of age. And She just doesn't have the time to learn something new. And I think this is a big problem, but the people that are kind of under 45, they kind of get it a little bit. Okay, switching gears. Last question before we open up to the audience for questions. Bitcoin announcement. We touched on this last week, and now everybody's talking about this stuff with Jack Mallers, Apple. He was wearing an Apple cap and has some stuff on his Twitter. Steve Jobs, think different. And the conference authority said there will be a huge announcement at the Bitcoin conference. What do you guys think it'll be? And even within the icons that are available within the studios, within Apple, they just added a Bitcoin icon. So is the cat out of the bag, or do you think it's something different, or do you guys care? Rob.
That's great if it does. And I was talking about this today. I'm like, if Apple comes on board with Lightning Network and they start to take the transactions, the optics are good because people are like, oh, well, I heard Bitcoin's for illicit activities, but yet it's being accepted by Apple. That doesn't make any sense. So maybe it's actually something I should look into. I could kind of see that in transactions. Yeah. But I mean, if it's that, great. But how many times have we heard about like Walmart and Litecoin, and then you're going to have like all these different companies and another crypto and Alpha. And I'm like, maybe. I mean, that's great, but just the optics are good. I don't know if it's going to move, hugely the price, maybe just the optics.
Well, biggest company in the world, and they want to bring more financial services in-house. And this is what I talk about. I think one of the big areas that people underestimate is this hybrid, mix between tech and blockchain companies coming together to displace and disrupt traditional finance. CTO.
Yeah, I think there's two aspects. One was that maybe I don't know if it's an old interviewer, but I heard it only this morning, an interview with Tim Cook, where he said that he holds Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies himself, and that he said that he feels that it's a reasonable part of a diversified portfolio. I haven't heard him say that before. I don't know if it's new or not, but clearly he thought so. So then that could be something. But then I think there's another thing happening also. I'm sure you have followed Tim Sweeney of Epic Games. They went and sued Apple, Epic Games that made Fortnite and so on, to try to be able to collect money outside the App Store. And they lost in the end. But perhaps Apple is feeling some pressure here that, they won this battle, but maybe this is a war that's hard to win in the end. Can they really completely control the money flow here? And opening up more payment methods and giving more choice could perhaps be a good move to do to kind of seem more positive to other revenue flows and so on. I don't know. I think that is maybe for sure, or I would say so like this, for sure they are thinking about it at least. Will it happen now? Perhaps. I would guess it's premature. I think maybe it will come later, but maybe they're thinking in this direction. How can they become more open without giving away all the revenue and so on?
Yep, excellent point. Okay, with that, really love big variety of questions, but all these questions are very, very important if you're in the market because they all have huge impact on price. And that's what we care about. So we got 5 or 6 questions from the audience. We'll go through pretty quick. The first one is from CopyCatt, and it is, if you buy leaps, these are derivatives on equities, if you end up executing and buying the shares, are you charged any capital gains? I'll do that real quick. No, you're not. That's one of the beauties of leaps. Say, for example, Tesla went down to 700s and something, and I grabbed some $650 and $700 leaps just, because I know Tesla's worth $1,200, and those leaps cost about $150, I think, at the time. What you do is you hold them, and your strike is, say, $600. When January 2024 comes around, you just get the Tesla at $600. You need the $600 per share to be able to convert those leaps, but you do not pay capital gains. So great question, CopyCatt. Next question is from Solomon the HODLR from India. Oh my God, we're keeping you up very late. Respect and love for all 3 of you from India. Do you have price predictions for Bitcoin and ETH for the end of 2022? God bless you, Rob, James, and Mr. Larsson. So it's an interesting one. So year-end price predictions. I know it's extremely difficult to guess where we're going to go, but I'll give it to you, Rob, first, because I think I know your stance on price predictions. But any idea Bitcoin ETH year end 2022, approximately 9 months from now?
Oh man. So price predictions are just that. Predictions, crystal balls. No one has the definitive answer. So I'll just say like this. I talked about this. I did a Bitcoin price prediction. I said I would never do a Bitcoin price prediction. I did one last week. And the reason I did it was because I was using Ben's Into the Cryptoverse Bitcoin logarithmic regression as far as like non-bubbles, price in the middle, and bubble upper band. And I said like this, if you just take a look at this until like the very end, based on the data and math and numbers and things like that, I go in 2022, if you're looking at just Bitcoin itself, I'm going to give you the price prediction. It's between 19,590 and 168,760. And that's all I can tell you. And then Ethereum, same type of thing. I can tell you it's going to be somewhere between $285 and 6,400 and something. So that's my price predictions, and take it as you will. That's all I got. That's it. Yeah.
CTO, you're up.
Yeah, I don't do price predictions. I feel that at least I'm not good at it. I think, James, you have more to add there. But it doesn't mean that I just sit and wait for whatever to happen. My process that I like, that suits me, is that I try to have a trend-based model. So if the trend is up, I sit on the boat and I try not to guess too much how high it will go, because usually it goes a lot higher than I think. And then on the same thing on the other side, if it goes down, usually goes a lot further than I think. And if it goes down, if the trend is down, I'm not on the boat. So I take this approach instead, and trend tracking trade approach rather than a target-based approach. There's nothing wrong with target-based approaches. It's just that it's not for me.
Excellent. And me being spent a lot of time doing this, I just look at adoption and money flows and supply and try back into where I think we're going to go. And there's so much we don't know about how this year will pan out, between what's happening in Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera. Their fiat currencies are going down fast. We just saw that with Japan. But what I can tell you from the data that I see Bitcoin somewhere between 70,000 and 98,000 between now and the end of the year. I don't know when it'll hit that range, but it will probably hit that range. I'm 80 to 85% certain it will. So I don't want to give anybody investment advice, but I definitely see those numbers hitting. That means new all-time high. And if we hit a new all-time high, we could get a different FOMO, because the holders are different and there are people waiting for big price action before they actually jump in, which is kind of ridiculous. On Ethereum, I see between 5,500 and about 8,900. Again, hitting that range. And that's because of the merge, the crunch in supply, things like the RONIN attack. 68% of all DeFi still happens on Ethereum. It's the 800-pound gorilla. I see that happening. So here's me making predictions, not financial advice, just what I think. Do you guys think I'm crazy?
Oh, no, I think it's very possible, very reasonable. I think so too. Yeah. I do operate with possibilities. Like, is this possible? Yes, no. Is this possible? Yes, no, and so on. And it's definitely possible. Yeah.
Well, this is incredible. I've never had this before. 2 questions in a row from India, and this is from Master Block Warrior, who is an awesome individual. He says, if governments add Bitcoin to their balance sheet, what would stop them from using the appreciation of Bitcoin to fund their wars and help their friends? Basically, would the hard money narrative fix government behavior? Interesting one. Super interesting question. Rob, to you first.
Well, if they do something like that, first of all, the value of Bitcoin would go up. But here's another thing. Every country can't do that. I mean, they could, but what are the chances that every single country just jumps in? Nobody wants to be the first, but I can guarantee this, no one's going to want to be the last. So if they can actually do this and then pull it off and do it just like how they do it in Miami or in other different cities in the United States and go, we're going to or the volcano bond. They say, we're going to do this, but you have to understand that, is every country out there for war? Is that what they're going to use Bitcoin for? I guarantee, I'm pretty sure the Swiss aren't going to build up their massive navy when they do this. I think it could be good for everybody. But again, it depends on the actual country. just could be whichever way that country specifically goes. But I mean, if it just takes, and then they all start to come in. So I can't really speak to the war part, but I can tell you it would be good overall for the market.
Good. CTO, what do you see?
Yeah, I think it probably won't fix the government behavior in that sense. But what it will do is that it will increase globalization somehow. So I think that bad governments will find themselves out of monopoly during our lifetime. I mean, now one country government, they can do whatever they want and most people just stay put. But I think that will probably change to increasing extent.
Yeah.
It has not changed yet. A lot of people have been very upset with their government handling of the COVID situation, for example, but very few people did anything about it. Very few people moved somewhere else or did something. They just stayed put. But there is an increased trend of globalization, people moving all over the world. I have done that. Rob, you have also moved around, right? Is that the case?
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
So
yeah, I can definitely see.
Exactly. So I feel that is a trend that will pick up more in our lifetime. And then if money is global, it becomes easier to move. And the world has already become more similar. We're sitting all over the world here in India. I've lived in a lot of countries. I have a lot of great friends in India. And, if you know people across the world, you realize we're all the same now. We're sitting talking here across the world. We're thinking about the same thing. We have the same concerns. We're very similar. While 30 years ago, the world was much more different. We had more local problems. And there is a increased globalization, which I think is a nice thing. And that also means that the governments that are not doing what the citizens want will probably find that their most resourceful citizens move somewhere else. And that in turn might help fix bad government behavior.
Yep. I agree. I do see a lot more people voting with their feet when they get fed up with their authoritarian governments. I mean, it's happening all over the world. And people are seeking out places that have freedom, crypto freedom, maybe nicer weather, stuff like that. And that's going to happen big time. That's why I said in a tweet to Nayib Bukele about 6 months ago, I said, watch out. Your country's going to get pretty full pretty fast if you continue at this rate. So yeah, people are getting up. When you see the regulators, like what happened in Europe, happening right now, and they have crypto, they have bags, they are making plans right now. I know it for a fact. I know a bunch of people they're looking at a map and saying, El Salvador, Portugal, whatever, Dubai, and they're making plans to go. Okay, next question. This is from Robin de Kleine out of Europe. It's awesome having CTO here. Yay. So you have a fan. What do you think of the recent price action of XHV? I think that's Haven. And could Luna be seen as the gold to Bitcoin? So it's like a double barrel question from Robin.
I think what's interesting with those two projects is that I don't know which of them stole the idea from the other one, but they both came up with the exact same idea to have a stable coin that you mint by burning the volatile asset and then do the other way around. And it was in January 2008, and both Luna and XHV say that they individually came up with the idea in January 2018. Sorry, 2018, not the 8. 2018, January 2018. So clearly, one borrowed the idea from the other. And XHV then also tried to add privacy functionality on top of this, which is then trying to do two things at the same time. Of course, that is more complicated than. But Luna has proven that this model works. It was experimental until, just a little over a year ago, basically. No one really knew if this model can even work, but Luna has proven that it works. But then all tech startups, and especially in crypto, all small projects have a small chance for huge gain and a large probability of something failing for whatever reason. So I think when thinking as an investor, if you're thinking as a VC investor, no VC investor goes out and invests in one tech startup. You will not be successful as a VC investor that way, because that individual company has a low probability of success. It's just how tech innovation works and tech startups works. But if that VC investor invests in 50 similar companies, he knows that he has good chances that a couple of those actually take off, and then they can go up so much that it compensates for all of the ones that didn't take off and more. That's how the VC market works. And I think that's of course, I and everyone else, we try to look for exciting things, that try to do something new that could potentially become a huge rocket if they succeed. And but also be aware that there is a huge, large probability of failure. And I think Exit3 is one of those projects that really tried to do something that no one has ever done before. They've faced a lot of problems, hacks, different issues. So they've pushed through it, and trying again, and really coming at it. And now they seem to have some traction together with RONIN Thorchain. And I think the situation is the same as it's always been. There is a small chance that they repeat the Luna success and it becomes huge, and a large chance that something goes wrong again. That's just how technology innovation works.
Yeah, I think Kwon, smart fellow, understands the game theory and the first mover advantage. There isn't going to be room for 20 stable coins. But if you can back yours to the tune of 40% with Bitcoin, it's quite impressive. Rob, have you been tracking the Luna and Luna as the gold to Bitcoin situation? And are you bullish on it?
Oh, that's why I've been dollar cost averaging. I mean, as soon as that, I was buying Luna a while back, not when I should have gotten in, but a while ago. And actually, there's a couple of guys here in Puerto Rico that I play volleyball with. They know Kwon, and they are like venture capitalist guys. And they're like, yeah, when we met him, we knew this was the guy. He's one of those guys that will work, nonstop. And he's got a super type A personality. And we took a look at the team, and that's why I invested. I was like, well, where the heck? He's like, sorry, man, we didn't know you back then. So I take a look at this, and they told me about some other projects that look pretty good, but we'll talk about those. But I mean, it does make sense, and it's been pretty lucrative so far. So I think it's going to go well. Why not? The only thing that I can't understand is why the Bitcoin maxis are so against. It seems like they're a little bit against of what Luna's doing. I don't understand why.
Excellent. So we have, this is unbelievable. We have somebody from South Africa, ledger number 23. And this one's for you, Rob. When Bitcoin eventually gets into the millions, how does one leverage that created wealth without converting it back into fiat? So basically, how do you borrow against your Bitcoin without borrowing against it and getting fiat out?
So there's, speaking of regulation, our President Biden, he wants to start to tax unrealized tax gains for billionaires or people making $100 million. And there's this saying, it's buy, borrow, die. And essentially what that is you get money in, and then there's, if you want to, and let's say you have a ton of stocks, whoever you are, you have a ton of stocks. If you sell that, you have to pay capital gains. One, just borrow against those capital gains because those stocks, because there's no capital gains. And as time goes on, as you use all that money, and then you die, you can pass it off to the kids, and there's tax incentives that way. So if you have let's say you're a whole Bitcoiner, you watch James' video about how to rapidly become a single Bitcoiner and take all that advice, which was great, and you have one full Bitcoin that's worth $1 million. So you can sell that Bitcoin, but you're going to be on the hook probably for long-term capital gains here in the United States, might be 20-21%, depending. So you're going to just lose, 200,000 right off the bat. That's not good. Why don't you just go and you borrow against that? You take out half, let's say 500,000, because you have to double collateralize. And then you take that 500,000 and you buy for assets that actually, gain money. Let's say you get into real estate like I do, and you put it on short-term rentals. Let's say you put it into your business, whatever your business is. Then of course it makes that, and you pay that back, and you pay a little small percentage. That way you don't have to pay capital gains. That type of thing makes sense to me. Or you could do what the super rich do, which is buy, borrow, die.
Love it. Buy, borrow, die. Sounds very dark and ominous, but it's exactly what they do. And in fact, the big institutional banks like Morgan Stanley, etc., they do that. the Guggenheims, they do that for the high net worth people. Like people like Elon Musk doesn't take a salary, but he's not short of a few bucks. Anyway, let's talk about the next question from LongTermHoldr. This is for CTO. What does CTO think of the likelihood that the KYC wallet, private wallet legislation in Europe will actually pass? I know it's technically passed in the courts today, but down the line, will they refine it? Because the US passed some crazy law about wallets. Was that October, November last year, Rob? And then they rewrote it. Do you think that'll happen again with the European situation?
I certainly hope so. I would be shocked if this goes into actual law, because what would happen is that you can't erase the innovation of blockchain from the face of the earth, even if some people would like to. It's already out there. The only thing they could achieve with that is that the people starting blockchain companies, they move somewhere else. That's the only thing that would come out of that. If it's no longer, and maybe that some international companies, they stop offering services to Europeans or drastically limited them. Like if you're in a blacklisted country, which would be Europe, you can only do some certain services. And then again, for the vast majority of people, they will not care. But the resourceful people, the ones who built the Google, Facebook, Tesla of the world, like the current young generation that are going to build the next generation of those type of companies, they're going to move. That's what's going to happen. And then the decline of European share of GDP, of world GDP, will accelerate. And I mean, even if these politicians haven't really thought through this now, I hope that by the time we get a little bit further in this process, they will realize that they need to balance the desire for crackdown on anything new, the desire to kind of make it simpler and easier to enforce different rules with innovation. That is the balance that need to do. And it's the funny thing is that we had the same debates for both internet and telecom. Like, how can we enforce criminal activity and tax if people can go on this internet and do whatever they want? It's completely out of control. We must stop it. Or how can we enforce people's activity if they can go anywhere and talk on mobile phone? They can go out of the country and call and so on. And how can we allow that to happen? It will lead to an increased crime and all those things. And yet here we are, and we are able to tax internet companies. We are able to enforce taxation, even though internet exists, even though people can talk on the mobile phone. And it is possible to do this even on blockchain. It's just, it takes a little bit more effort, but we have to solve it. We have to make a system where we can both be pro-innovation and still enforce the rules for criminal justice, national security, and taxation. And that is solvable. It was solvable on the previous 2 times. It's solvable this time as well. It just takes a little bit more effort.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I certainly hope so. I think it's less than 50% risk that this goes into actual law.
Yeah. I don't know how transparent it is with European politics, but if you are on the wrong side of crypto legislation, you can kiss your political career goodbye, because the up and coming voters, like I think that say that like between 25 and 40% of Americans now own crypto. If you disenfranchise yourself from that voting block, game over. And I'm sure it's the same in Europe. I saw a
statistic that 64% of high-income millennials in the US own crypto today. So I guess that those people are a little bit more influential and so on than the average. And I mean, if you alienate those groups of people as a politician, you will be dead. Maybe not today, but tomorrow. You as a
sure.
politician,
Yeah.
you will not survive as a politician if you alienate everyone who is forward thinking. I mean, if we look at the famous people in the world who owns Bitcoin, so Elon Musk with Tesla. Tim Cook, clearly. We have Rich Dad. If anyone read the classic book Rich Dad Poor Dad, he owns Bitcoin. Mark Zuckerberg wanted to do his own crypto. He has a goat named Bitcoin. And I mean, the whoever you think of in the world that has actually been a thought leader, they own Bitcoin. And clearly they're not all idiots, right?
Exactly. I have a little slide with the smartest people in the world that are all in. Final thing, a big thank you to Desert Dog. We have a community member called Beardy Day Crypto, one of the funniest people. I think, Rob, would you guys both wish him better? I think he's down and out because he never misses a show and people are worried about him. Can you say, get well soon, Beardy Day Crypto?
Get well soon, buddy. Hopefully it all works out.
Yeah.
Get well soon. Could you repeat the name? I'll say that.
Beardy, like beard, day, crypto. Beardy Day Crypto.
Beardy Day
Get
Crypto.
well soon.
Get well.
Beardy Day Crypto. Get well soon.
He watches both your channels and he comments on your Twitter posts as well. So he's very funny. Very funny guy. Get well soon, everybody. I want to thank the team here. I want to thank the audience. We have 4,000 people watching live. We have 1,300 likes. Do not forget to subscribe to CTO Larsson and Digital Asset News if you haven't already. I know most people are already subscribed. And as we say in Sweden, we say tack. Isn't that right?
Tack. That's right. It means thank you.
Thank you.
Tack.
Exactly. And what do you say in Puerto Rico? Rob speaks fluent Spanish. Say goodbye to everybody in Spanish. Go for it, Rob.
Adios, buenazos.
There you go. Excellent, everybody. Thank you so much for a great show. We'll see you all soon. Bye. Happy Thursday.